Hello, and welcome to the West Coast Informatics tutorial on our reference deployment snomed.terminology.tools. This is going to be a quick session to just go over some of the features of our terminology server environment in the context of this single terminology build that contains SNOMED-CT. First, go to the URL, snomed.terminology.tools. This takes you to a landing page for our SNOMED browser, which is loaded with the 2022-0301 US edition of SNOMED. This page describes a number of features of the tool, as well as has some interesting screenshots that you can take a look at to learn more. To begin using it, click Start Browsing. The first time that you come here, you will be asked to approve the SNOMED license agreement as written here. This is saved so it doesn't happen every time you come back to the tool. Then once in, the environment is loaded, and we'll take a look quickly at the things here. At the top, we have this metadata accordion. This contains a fair amount of detailed metadata information about SNOMED itself and how it's represented. And so we have the terminology, its name, the version. We don't actually encode the version here because it's just always set to the latest. And then we have a number of attributes that drive the tool to allow overriding of certain labels. There's two languages in SNOMED, English and English GB. Term types are, in this case, encoded as SNOMED concepts, but have names that resolve via the metadata, fully specified name and synonym. Got a number of relationships and additional relationship types indicating which ones are grouped. And then following through down here, we have attribute names and semantic types that are used with some description information, and then a little bit of extra metadata information that's loaded, but doesn't necessarily drive functionality in the tool. So the point is we have a relatively rich metadata model. This tab here allows us to see rough sets. We load the standard rough sets that come with SNOMED along with a few other ones. So we have global patient set, GP family practice rough set, as well as lateralizable body structures and routes of administration. If you click on one of these, the members are loaded below, and you can kind of have a look at which concepts are involved and what their semantic types are, or semantic tags in SNOMED parlance. And this can also be searched as a means of just looking within the context of the members of a particular subset. Clicking on a link here will load the concept view below, but we're going to take a look at that in a second. The next tab here, or the next accordion, is maps. So these are map sets. SNOMED to ICD-10, for example, has the full mappings loaded, the extended maps from SNOMED concepts to ICD-10. Here, ICD-10 is not specifically loaded into this terminology server, but we have resolved the names so that the map kind of makes a little bit more sense. And if you try to click on one of these, it'll explain that this is not actually loaded in this environment. Although it could be, this very configurable situation, this instance just happens to have only SNOMED deployed. And again, if you click on one of the entries over here, then it loads it in the concept view below. So then coming down to this, we have a search panel on the right where we can perform searches. So for example, here we'll search for melanoma, and we get a number of search results back. We could also search for a code in here, and search results matching that code come back. There's a number of other features. If this autocomplete tag is pushed, then it will attempt to provide things that might be what you're trying to type as you go along. We can turn this off because it can be annoying in certain situations also. This active flag will only find matches that are currently active. If we turn this off, the search will also resolve inactive codes. So that allows you to search both the space of active and inactive things. And we can also search leaf nodes only. So if you wanted to know things that didn't have any children that were at the bottom of the hierarchies, you could do that. Additionally, you can couple a textual search like this with an expression. So one example of doing that would be to say, constrain the search here by, well, let's look up the code first just to show what it is. So we want to say, for example, constrain the search by malignant neoplastic disease only. We can perform the search with an ECL query. It is not that code. The query would be descendants of this thing. And then here you can see there's a fewer number of search results, but all of these will be descendants of the malignant neoplastic disease concept. We can also search this without the syntax of the name just to show that you can only have IDs in there if you'd like. There are a number of different search handlers for exact matches. The n-gram search is kind of what drives the autocomplete. And then in the SNOMED mode, you can actually perform a search without an expression here that queries against the SNOMED terminology server itself. So you can get back results in the order that the SNOMED browser itself gets them back, if you're interested in doing such a thing. Taking a look over here at our search results, so let's kind of go back and we'll look up malignant melanoma. I want to show the concept report view on the right here. So the top is basically the terminology, the code, and the preferred name of the concept. In this context, it will be the US language PT. Semantic tags, in this case, morphologic abnormality. So this correlates to the parenthetical expression at the end of the fully specified name. We extract it so that you can search off of it, just to make that clear. You can also search on semantic tag values here. So malignant melanoma is a morphologic abnormality. Under that is a hierarchy, which lists the full tree positions in a clickable sort of graph, and the ability to sort of page between each tree position that is occupied by the SNOMED concept and the full set of ancestors. This control actually gives you full access to all of SNOMED. You can go browse down the tree, you can expand higher level nodes so that you can explore the full space. It by default only loads 10 here, but you can have it load the rest of them. So it's intended to be a display to show you the hierarchical information of the thing itself, but also let you browse around the tree in relation to where you're at. These things are also collapsible by clicking on them. Properties are just kind of top level pieces of information. So the concept has a definition, status ID, and a module ID in the data itself, and we've resolved the names here too to show you that this means it's a primitive concept and its module is the SNOMED core. Descriptions can also have some attributes, properties, case sensitivity, and also the module ID here. So those are shown, as well as the language and locale settings, the star indicating whether it's preferred in that language. So this is resolution of the language ref set data. Show mapping participation. So here the SNOMED to ICD-O map set. It has this mapping, but the name is unavailable here because this data set is not actually loaded. And here the CTV3 code 2. This is a sort of pseudo simple mapping to a coding scheme that isn't actually loaded as a terminology either. Then finally, we have the relationships. So these are ISA-RELs, and they link to the parent concepts of this primitive concept. And inverse relationship shows rels pointing from the other direction. So here it's inverse is a relationship to what are effectively the child concepts of this thing. And then there's an axioms view as well, if you want to look at the L axiom data that's present here. Couple other quick features. The search does have a history that lets you recover previous searches that you've made so you can go back and rerun them. And similarly, the concept report mechanism shows a history of all the concepts that have been loaded that can go back and reload those concepts. This control will let you pop this concept view out into its own tab if you want to look at it on its own or compare views or print something. And then additionally, the search results here can be downloaded. So if you wanted to get a downloaded view of all of the search results, in this case of a particular search, you can do that. And this will compute it in the background and then download a file that can be easily opened in Excel. So don't actually have that installed here. So we won't worry about that, but it's a tab separated values file that gets downloaded. Thank you very much. That's a brief overview of snomed.terminology.tools, our reference deployment of a SNOMED-only terminology server backed by our APIs, and a view into what the data looks like in a little bit more depth. Thank you for watching.